going to talk about Holmgaard bows. I have all these things. You know, this is in some ways an enigma, in some ways it's just great history. 10,000 years old. Named after the Holmgaard region of Denmark. Probably found in a bog. The oldest known bow. It's presenting kind of a puzzle to me. Now I've got the thicknesses. I've got the face profile. I've got the thicknesses. When I cut it out as a rectangular form, it doesn't bend at all. These needle tips, you know, and I'm sure they used a ring of sinew here to keep the string from sliding. And they knew their way around animal parts, you know, and just putting a ring of sinew here would do it. Super light tips, and it always amazes me that you can have like a heavy bow and tips this light. It's just a matter of leverage. But getting back to the mystery of this Holmgaard bow. First of all, there wasn't just probably one person in Holmgaard and only made one bow. And so I'm sure they were made from a variety of diameter of trees, you know, probably small, elm, they were elm. And so this just represents one bow. Now I have worked it down. You can see that there's this little shoulder right here, but it's not really of any consequence. You remove a little bit of width, doesn't do much. You remove a little bit of thickness, does a lot. It's kind of a 4-to-1 ratio. But I worked this down because, given the thicknesses and the face profile, all I'm getting is bending at the very end. Nothing here. This is a baseball bat. So I got to thinking, Mr. Holmgaard, roaming through Denmark, finding a nice straight elm tree. I'm going to cut that down. Small diameter. Right now I'm zeroing in on the diameter. Also keeping in mind, this is red oak, they used elm. Different engineering capabilities of the bow, different statistics, you know, as far as tensional strength, compressive, modulus of compression, all this stuff. You know, but I've been working this down to 4.5-inch diameter tree, small diameter tree, 4.5-inch. Did a pretty darn good job, kind of hogged it out gently. There's no light anywhere, you know, between this and the bow. With my farrier's rasp, and then scraped it with my Western Cutlery W84 to smooth it out, and then sanded it. But right now I've got a bow that's representative of 4.5-inch diameter tree. It's getting closer, but still, when I bend it, it's starting to bend in here, but mostly the bend is there. Now keep in mind, think about this. This is the story of a bow. This is interesting stuff. You've got this wide bow, right? And then it gets narrow. You get it down to a certain diameter of small tree, it does more. There's more wood removed where it's wider than where it's thinner. In fact, when it gets out here, I'm not doing anything to it. I'm not doing anything to that area that's got a lot of bend. I'm doing a lot to this area down here. Ah, story of Holmgaard. So, I could make another one of these, 3 3/4 inch, to see what the effects of this wide bow are. Now, get this. This is kind of interesting. You take a native bow, you know, let's look at a horse bow, 1 inch wide, 7/8 inch wide, made from small diameter stuff, but they went a different route. They made it very narrow, more uniform, you know, overall. Sometimes sinew back, sometimes not. It worked for them. These fellers, this fellow that made this particular bow that landed in a bog and survived 10,000 years to be dug up and measured, obviously made this thing out of a small diameter. They were smart enough, and I'm going to get to the engineering behind this, including mixing in the type of wood, which is important to this discussion in making a wide bow, about 2 inches wide, a little more, out of a tiny tree. So I'm going to go a little bit at a time. I'm going to make a dog bone. I call these dog bones. 3 is a little severe. I'm going to go 3 1/4, because when you start getting down in it, going from 4 1/2 to 3 1/4 is a huge percentage. I'm going to see what the bend is like. I'm not going to fiddle with it and fudge it by thinning it. I'm going for the diameter because the thickness was measured. Yeah. Hopefully I will get more of a uniform bend. I will. How much? Do I go down to a 3 1/2 inch diameter tree, which is, you know, it's not a big tree. But keep in mind, Stone Age bow 10,000 years ago, take a small tree, chop it down with a stone implement, carve it green, and then probably speed dry it over fire. So fire hardening. Now let's get to the theory in the wisdom of having a highly crowned back. And a crown means it's curvy. There's a strip of high tension running down the center. And you've got a wide belly. If you draw a triangle and you're saying, what forces are working on this? A tremendous amount up here in tension, because this is the back, in distributing compression forces over a very wide area. So you're getting an advantage in compression by working a wide bow. This guy 10,000 years ago figured this out, most likely. Distributing an elm, interlocking grain, which has really good tensional strength. You're starting to draw the lines between the dots here. Imagine this is more crowned. This is the back. You're seeing air between here. Highly stressed back. Elm, great in tension, interlocking grain, taking advantage of that. Elm, maybe not the greatest in compression. This person was an engineering wizard, distributing that compression over a wider area and allowing the natural toughness of the elm to withstand that strip of tension down the center of the back. I can look at any of these bows here, nicely engineered bows. There's something brilliant about a wide bow made from a small diameter tree with a highly crowned back, utilizing the strength of that material and the weakness of that material. It's one smart cookie. Super light limbs at the tips, not much mass to move. You know, inertia, things want to stay still. And the lighter things are, the easier they are to make a move. Needle tips, wide belly, narrow back, taking advantage of that strong material. Out of all these bows, which represent different fascinations for me, this one probably touches me more. 10,000 years old, with the engineering mind that isn't astounding. Well, I've rambled on long enough. To quote Led Zeppelin, ramble on, ramble on. I hope you enjoyed this little visit back in time, 10,000 years. 10,000 freaking years, the oldest bow known to mankind. Not too shabby. Happy, what is today? Tuesday? Tomorrow's a good day to make bows.